what I'm going to do is go through the machines. I'm going to tell you the differences. Now here's the nice part. These are identical in regards to the screen, which is great, okay? The only real difference between the two, forget about the stapler, we'll get to that. The only real difference between the two is this is a laser machine, which uses powder toner. This was an ink machine, which uses, I'll call it similar to like an inkjet you have at home, but really different, but idea, okay? So what I tend to tell people is that from a standpoint of typically, I don't want to say speed because they're both 60 pages a minute, or, you know, so it's not that way, but is that laser is the traditional that most people are used to, laser printer, whatever. The reason that this one is here is geared more towards the education department, but it also can also affect for the entire church. And here's why. This has two different ways of printing color. A normal, that would be like a regular, you know, pop kind of color, okay? And then one that might be, see how that one there behind you is a little lighter? It's a little, now, that's an example. So this one has the ability to print that same color but not lay as much ink down. The benefit to the church is you can print 4 of that lighter color for the same price as one. So when you're thinking about education for something for the kids, here's a little bit of color, they do their homework, that's great. It gives them color, it's not black and white, but it saves the church a lot of money. Now, if I'm printing something that I want the impact, well then you would print it in the regular, okay? So we'll go through that, but basically that's really the only difference between the two, laser, ink, okay? Over here in laser, traditionally you highlight laser, no problem, highlight ink sometimes, depending what the paper you put on. You know, it's not going to smear it, but it just doesn't look, so there's, again, pros and cons between both. You guys have the benefit, and I'll toot Jeff's horn a little bit. When he went through this crazy process of looking at all these machines, and he's glad he doesn't have to do that for a while now, is that there's a purpose for these, which is great, as opposed to he could have just said, just bring anything in, it doesn't matter. So the neat part is, if you guys were doing something for the church that were like, let's say going to be handouts or something, and you want color, but I don't need it to be pop, then do it at the lighter color. You know, so again, we'll go through that, okay?
Yeah, I mean, this is twofold. This is geared towards the ability for the education department to print what they want in color, but less quality for less money. And this one here is designed, so kind of like your Konica Minolta that was sitting here. However, it's designed for the office. It's not as confusing on the control panel as you would have had like your production unit. So this gives you all the office that you want, like all the features, like stapling and multiple paper drawers, 4 drawers versus 2 drawers. So this is kind of like your, you know, this was designed for your education department. Not that you can't use it for your everyday, like Dave said. If there's something in the office that you just need to print in color, but it doesn't need to be fabulous, you can still use it.
And then the other thing, the other machine, which kind of replaced the one that was here, that one is purely for marketing, and that's where you guys, when you really want to send something out to pop,
send it to Deb.
That's the least expensive one to actually print on, okay? And it gives you the highest quality. So what's going to be neat is, as we go through this, I've been in this crazy business 35 years, okay? Lisa's been 30, okay? I don't know why, but we still are. But here's one of the neat things, is that I always look at when we come in with a new client, that these next couple of years are just going to be a transgression, a growth as we grow along with you guys. So as you guys start to say, ooh, we want to try to do this, well, guess what? I guarantee you that one of these 3 machines that you have, you can do whatever it is you want. On the one out there, you can run magnets through it. That you can then have people for hanging up on. I mean, there's so many neat things you can do. So I'm not saying you guys are ever going to go there, but the fact of the matter is you guys have some really nice equipment that you can get there too.
Yeah, I think the idea is when I was talking to Jeff and to Deb about the whole environment, the idea now is to anything that requires really good quality, or you have a special project, or you want to run any type of special media, different paper stocks, that needs to be sent. It's almost like a work order, if you will, to Deb to do. And then you'll really get what you want. You can do coded stocks, you can do textured stocks, you can do really thick stocks, you can do all kinds of things.
You do window clings, there's all kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, all kind of neat stuff.
And the idea then is you have a project and you know you want to do this on this type of paper, then send it to Deb.
And we'll be going through that over the weeks and months as we get everything for you. Okay, so here's my goal today. Real quickly, I'm going to run through the ins and outs of the machine. When we get to the control panel, just remember, everything I'm showing here is going to be over here, okay? Then I'll pop over here just to show you the ins and outs of the machine, meaning the supplies and that kind of stuff. But overall, you'll see that they're fairly similar, okay? So, starting with the document feeder, okay? This guy is a dual scan document feeder, means it reads the top and the bottom at the same time. So if you do anything two-sided, it doesn't have to flip it like some of the older. I don't know what the previous ones were, but this definitely reads both at the same time. If you get a jam, you can open the machine, and allows you to release your pages. Okay, I believe this one holds, I think it's 250 or 300 sheets, so it holds
250
a lot.
sheets, and it does have the ability to detect double feeds.
What do you mean by holds?
That you can stick in. So it's like you can put up to 250 pages in when you're making copies.
Originals.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay.
Your originals, you can have 250 sheets in this document feeder, and it scans the top and the bottom. So if you have two-sided originals, it doesn't flip them.
Yeah, and I believe that one's 100, I believe.
Okay.
So it's a little bit smaller.
But it's still scanned too.
Yeah, it's just a little smaller. Okay.
Right.
Now, it's very important when we talk about a service piece. Okay, not really service, but service piece. Okay. So this piece of glass here is what scans anything you put in the feeder, and then this piece of glass obviously is anything you lay on the glass. You lay it in the top corner where the little arrow is. That's where you put your piece of paper into the corner.
Upper left-hand corner registration.
And stick it on in, and that's where you would put your documents on the glass. Now, when you're making a copy of something, now, obviously, just like you had before, everything's covered under your contract. The only thing you pay for is paper and staples. That's it. Everything else is covered. Okay, so if you see a line, that can be a service call. But before you do that, we always recommend that you check a couple things. So if you're making a copy of something and lines come out, and obviously there's no line on the original, then what you're going to look at is either on either piece of glass that there's white out, marker, something like that, and you get a little Windex, a little rag, clean off. But here's the one that people miss. So above the glass, you see this big white area here, and here there's a white roll area. If you are holding a pen in your hand and you put a piece of paper in here, okay, you get a little mark up there. When the light shines through the paper, that's actually what it's picking up, okay? So everybody's looking at the glass like this baby's nice and clean, and they forget it up here. So all we're saying is...
What do we use to clean that white part?
Actually, yeah, a little bit of Windex. Yeah, Windex is fine. Windex and
Don't spray anything on the device itself.
Yeah, we usually recommend
on the
yeah, you got it. Yep.
Okay.
So basically, all I'm telling you is that normally if you call in for a call on lines and you talk to our first pass, which is actually an operator, okay, they're going to ask you, is it when you're making a copy or is it when you're printing? That's important. When it's making a copy, then we've already narrowed down that there's probably a problem here, okay? If it's printing, then it's a problem inside, in which case then our guy's going to come out and something on the drum or whatever it may be.
Just show them this area too. This area drops down.
Yeah, so what happens is when you get a jam, and by the way, the machine does a real good job of walking through when you have a jam. Say open this, do that. So this part here releases anything that was in the feeder, okay? So again, the machine does a really good job of stepping you through everything.
Sure. Could you touch that?
Yeah.
Okay. Just
yeah. That's all.
Just push the top left.
Yeah. Very easy. Very easy.
Great.
Okay.
Great.
So really, that's about all you have to worry about in the feeder. It's pretty good. Okay. Now, as far as your paper goes, the way it's set up is you have 4 drawers here. Okay. And then where this is at, this opens up and this is your bypass.
Okay.
Okay, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But basically, these drawers here, that's fine. You can leave it there.
You pull from the right.
These drawers here all can take up to your 11 by 17 size sheet. Okay. All you do is adjust with the little blue guy and this guy out to make it so that it does exactly what you need to do depending on the size, okay? Yeah, identical to that. Now, what I always tell people is that when you put your paper in, what this machine is going to do is, it's kind of annoying, but it does it for a reason. Anytime you open a drawer, it comes back and says, hey, I see that you have 8.5 by 11 paper in here, or I have 8.5 by 14, or I have 11 by 17. So it's basically saying, hey, I see 8.5 by 11. Is that really what you put in there? Okay? And you hit OK and you're good. Now, the reason that is if you don't put those guides necessarily super tight, it might have some funky A3 or B4 or some weird size that we don't know about. So when that asks you that, if you see something that's not right, then that usually means, aha, when I put those pieces together, they're probably not locked in place.
Right,
Okay.
okay.
So
Check your
pretty easy,
guides,
pretty
yeah.
simple.
Yeah.
Okay? Now, over here, this is our bypass. That is a 5th tray. Now, on the HPs, they actually call that tray 1. Why? I have no idea, but this goes back in the day when HP created their laser printers. The only reason I bring this up is for 2 parts. Number 1, and I mentioned this to Jeff yesterday, so keep this in mind. If you are printing a document out of typically Office, Word, Excel, that kind of thing, but it could be other programs too. It could be Adobe Reader. If I pull up a document that I printed 5 weeks ago, Microsoft and Adobe and all these guys, what they try to do is they try to help you by saving in that file what you did the last time. So, if you hit print and you walk over here and it's beeping at you telling you to put paper in tray 1, that's because that document was going to a different tray in the old machine. Okay? So, as soon as you put paper in, it'll print it out, no problem. Now, to fix that, when you go back to your computer, go into the print driver, pick the appropriate tray, and now hit save. Now, the next time you pull that same document up, you're going to be fine. So,
Okay.
it's a very common thing, and forget about HP, take them out of the mix. If you replaced your Risso with a Konica, or you replaced your Risso with a Canon, it doesn't matter. That's concurrent between all the manufacturers because what you were printing on before, it remembers that.
Just
It doesn't
saved
know.
as a default
It doesn't know you
setting.
changed
Oh,
machines,
okay.
okay? So
Okay.
again, not a big deal, but traditionally, if I get a complaint in the beginning, that's the complaint. I printed something and it told me to go to a different drawer. Well, that's because it's remembering it from the last one.
Okay, okay.
If you go into your print driver, you go to properties and you just tell it what you want, like tray 1, 2-sided, stapled or whatever, then
Now-
that'll automatically bump that other setting out.
On the bypass. So it's hard to see. Sometimes they do it in different color. But there's a little symbol here that shows a piece of paper curled over like this.
Okay.
It's an international symbol that basically says that if I put paper in this tray, the print, when it comes out the machine, is going to be on the bottom.
Okay.
So that's what that symbol means. So the reason I bring it up, a lot of times people put letterhead in that tray or labels in that tray. Okay? So everything in that tray is going to be face down. That's where the print's going to come out when it comes out of the machine.
Okay.
Okay? So that little symbol, that's what that little symbol means. So worst case is today, if you guys go home tonight, you can say, hey, I learned something. This
That's
is the
what that
international
symbol
symbol for where paper goes, okay? So anyway, so you have your paper drawers, and then the way the machine works is that everything, as far as the paper goes, comes up. There's another drawer down there. It's for the bottom trays. So everything comes up, goes through here, and comes out here. So there is no place, unlike, and I cannot speak for the Risso because I don't know the Rissos, but back in the day, and this goes way back, when you used to open a copier like a clam, okay, you could have paper in way weird places, okay? In this world here, it's either going to be here, or, you know, over here, okay? So the reality is there's no place that a piece of paper can hide. And as you get used to the machine, you'll know exactly where things are. Now, the machine will do a very good job of telling you, step by step, open this door, take the paper out, open this door, and if you did everything right, when you close it back up, it'll reprint your job. Okay? So what I tell people, and this is for me doing this such a long time, I know how to cut corners. Well, the machines don't know I know that. So they're still going to ask me, open this door, etc. Okay?
Okay.
All right. So, any questions on that part of it? Okay? Now, the last piece then is the staple finisher. Okay? So, you guys have staple finisher with hole punch. So, this little guy right here, this collects our little holes. So if you want to be mad, mean, pour them on top of somebody's desk or things like that, you have a nice little collection here. Okay. Now that will fill up eventually. If it gets so high, it'll actually tell you to change it. Most people don't let it get that high, but you just pull it out, dump it, slide it back in. Okay.
Okay.
The other thing you have is your stapler. So what happens is, and you didn't have, well, you had a stapler on the other machine.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's going to be similar, but I'll show you how easy this is. So when it tells you that you're out of staples, okay, you wheel this out here, and this little blue guy, purple guy, when you pop that down, this whole cartridge comes out, okay? Right now you have 5,000 staples in here that come with the machine. That could last you guys a month, 10 months, 2 weeks, depending what you use. I would recommend, Jeff, that you do order another box. Okay, now in that box is 3 packs of 5,000. So there's 15,000 then. So what happens is when you run out of your staples and you pop this out, the staples are in, they're right stacked on top of each other, and they have a little tape around, like if you get money at the bank, it has that little, same idea. So you just take that off, you drop the staples right down in the cartridge and pop it in. It's so easy to do. And then, by the way, it does tell you step by step on how to do that. Okay? Now, the neat part is this machine, believe it or not, also has a convenience stapler. So, what happens is, if I came up here and I said, I ran my copy and I said, oh darn, I really wish I stapled this, okay? So what you do is there's a button on top here that has a picture of a staple on it, okay? So if you hold the button down, what it's going to do...
Well, that was the power button.
Yeah, no, that's, yep. So what it's going to do is it's going to slide the stapler up here, okay? And
That cartridge you saw in there.
yeah,
Move
that
it
cartridge
into
I had.
position.
So what it's going to do is it's going to move it up, and let's see if I got it up here yet. And stick it in, and there's my staple, okay?
I have a question.
Yep.
When you replace the cartridge or for whatever reason
Yep.
you wheel.
Oh, you
turn
don't,
the
no,
lever-
you only have to wheel it to bring it out. You don't
Okay,
have to do,
and then it goes back
it goes
on its
back,
own.
yep.
Okay.
And then when I'm done with this, I touch that and that turns it off. Or after a minute, it'll
Yep.
also reset. So
Okay.
this is kind of cool, as silly as it is.
Yeah.
That's kind of neat. It's like I ran my copy, it's like, oh darn, okay?
Just you have trouble with that little staple.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
So here's the thing. Just remember, okay, for it to be in the top left where we like it, what you do is you just take your document, tip it down, and slide it in. Okay? You didn't even know you had that.
No, I did not.
We didn't talk about that.
Okay. All right. So that's pretty.
That's what sealed the deal.
There we go. There we go. So now, any questions on the hardware, paper, any of that stuff? Because that's pretty much
Did
it.
you go through how to change toner?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's
so on your toners. Okay, so we are going to get you an extra one of these. Okay, we are also going to get you an extra black as a backup. The colors last a while, so we don't get you extras of those right away because I don't know if you guys are going to use a lot of cyan or magenta. The machine has software that I believe we would have loaded yesterday, which reads all the meters automatically, and it also does the supplies. So I'll be checking on that to make sure it's doing that appropriately. And what happens is, when this gets down to 20%, we're going to send you one.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Oh,
But-
take that off my list.
Yeah, but I do like to have extra on hand. So just like on this machine, okay, which is ink,
Right.
okay, I'm going to get you another black.
Okay.
Same deal, okay? But, because that's what we use the most.
Right.
Okay, so I'm going to do now here. You just push in. There's my black.
Right.
Okay.
Plunge back in.
and then
Snap.
push it back in. That's it.
Just
Okay.
like the other HPs.
Over here, this guy just pulls out.
Okay.
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 So very easy, very simple. Now, this is a toner collection bottle. So what that does is every time you make a copy, some toner does not get used. Eventually, and again, it could be 2 years from now. Nobody knows. This is going to get to a point where a sensor is going to say it's full. So we're going to send you one of these extra, and you're going to stick on a shelf, and it could sit there for a long time collecting dust.
Right.
When it does come time to replace it, you'll actually just pop this out, okay? Basically, this on each side pops out. This whole thing pops out. There's a seal, so you don't have to put the old ones. You have to actually use to put a sticker over it. This one's automatically sealed, and you throw the thing away. Pop the new
Right
one
in the
on.
trash.
Yep,
Mm-hmm.
and you're good to go.
All right.
Okay? So that's your internal. And you only ever go in there for ink, toner. You don't go in there for paper. Paper is, again, on the outside. Okay? So we cool with that? Okay.
A
Now,
lot easier than the Konica Minolta that was here, right?
Oh yeah.
and actually, and for Deb and on the other side with the Xerox, that was not hard either. It's just a different kind of machine. Okay? So, on the screen, what we did was we set up here for the things you're going to use the most. Now, right now, it's Steve, right?
Yep.
Steve's working on getting the scanning working. Okay, so once we have that, and I'll show you how to use it. Once it's active, then you guys will be able to do it. But basically what we did here was we put our most commonly used stuff on here. Now, you can scroll to the right to get other stuff, but the main things you guys are going to use are on here, and they probably are the same, yes. So if you look over there, that screen looks identical to this screen, okay? So here we go. So on the copy screen, so here's the way HP does it. And again, I can't speak for the Risso, okay? I can only speak for, I'll call it the regular copier. So what happens is this. When I first come in here, this top part here is what we call the most common things that people change, okay? So the first one is single-sided or two-sided or whatever. So the default on the machine is one-sided. It's a 1-to-1. If I touch the little arrow, then it opens up, and this is kind of unique. So here's the way it works. It's just asking you a simple question. My original is what? One-sided or two-sided? The one I want to come out, do I want it one-sided or two-sided? So you don't have to remember that 1-to-1, 1-to-2, 2-to-1. You don't have to remember any of
These
that.
were opposite.
Yeah. This is actually very easy because it basically says, hey, my original's 1, this one's 2, okay? So I would tell it, well, I have a 2, and I want it to come out 2, and now it's going to get me two-sided. Simple as that, okay? But again, out of the box, so to speak, it is set for 1-to-1, okay? Below it is the type of copy. Both machines are defaulted to black. That way you don't accidentally make a color copy, okay? When I do touch it, though, I have two choices here, and I'm going to tell you without a doubt, 99.9% of the time, if you're not making black and you want to do color, you want to use the one that says auto detect. There's three choices: auto, color, or black, okay? What auto does, and this is why I recommend you use this all the time. If I went up there and I had this document and I had where my document was that had color on it. So if, let's say this had color and this is black, auto is going to charge you black for the one, color for the other. That's what you want. If you pick color, you've told the machine, yes, you've told the machine every page is color, even if it's not. So you're going to pay for color even if it's black and white.
Okay.
So I would tell everybody in the office, if they come up and either machine, you want to do it in color, make sure you pick auto, okay? If you want it, default, it's going to be black. And then after a minute, it resets to black for the next person, so you don't have to worry about it, okay?
So if I can paraphrase, don't ever use color button.
Well, no,
Color
here,
choice.
there's a reason. Here's the reason. If, let's say you had 10 pages and they're all color, if you pick color, it's faster because it doesn't have to think.
Oh.
It doesn't have to say, oh, that page is black. Now, it does it really fast, but if it doesn't have to think, it just makes the copies. So yes, that's why it's still on there, because if I have a document that every page has color on it, yeah, go ahead. Go right ahead.
Yeah, the auto color is great for when you have a mixture.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
That's my opinion. Only when you have a mixture of black and color documents and you want your color to be color and your black to be black.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, just keep it on black.
Mm-hmm.
Or if you want them all to be full color, like all of them are color.
Right, then you choose the color.
Choose
Now,
color.
down in the bottom corner, you see the copy button.
Mm-hmm.
And right next to you see the number 1. Default is obviously 1 copy. If I touch the number 1, then I get the keypad. And then I can pick 10, 20, whatever I want. Okay? So, that is called the clean screen. Not a lot on it.
Yeah.
Because these are the only things that most people use. Okay? Now, down below here are the options. So I'm going to touch on that. And in here, there's all kind of crazy stuff. I'm only going to show you a couple. If you guys are bored one day and you want to come and play, come and play. But there's a couple here that people do like, so I just want to point out them to you. Okay? So when I come in here, you'll notice right away, one-sided, black and white, that's already here. They just moved that to that other screen to make it easy. Okay? But as I scroll down, I'm going to talk about a couple that people like. So here's one called Watermark. So, what Watermark allows me to do is I can come up here and I can put draft, confidential, secret, top secret, urgent, okay, on my document, like I would from a computer.
Yeah.
Okay?
Let the pastor know.
Okay? So you can certainly do that. And you can also change the height, the size of the text, all different kind of stuff like that.
Oh, wow.
Okay? So again, if you have a meeting coming up and it's a draft and you want to do it, go ahead. Okay? It's just something that in the past you couldn't do except from a computer. Now I can do it from here. Okay?
Cool.
So that's one. Okay? The other one is, let me go back here and reset. Now, by the way, there's a button at the top of the main screen that says reset. If I wanted to reset stuff right now, that's where I would go. Again, after a minute, it does the reset automatically. But when I come up here, that would be how I do a reset. Okay? So now I'm going back into options, and then below Watermark, there's one called Stamp. Okay? So now what Stamp is the ability to take a text, whatever I want, like date and time, different things like that, and I can put it top left, top bottom. So let's say I wanted to have the date and time at the top of my pages when I make a copy. I can go in there and pick that. And I can say, put it the top left, top right, whatever I want. So again, you might not use this stuff, but it is new. So I like to bring it up because some places do really like it. The other one here that people like is instead of date and time, we have page number. So if I came up with 20 pages, let's go to education scenario. And by the way, this is over there too, okay? And I went to page number so the kids, when they're going through it, they can say, look at page 4 or page 5. That's what it'll do, okay? So that's what page numbering is, okay? So now, the other one that people like in options, so they're right below each other, Watermark and Stamps, okay? By the way, reduction, enlargement on the machine, like blowing it up and reducing it, it's kind of automatically on the automatic mode. So in other words, if I put a big sheet in here, 11 by 17, and I pick it to go on 8.5 by 11, it does it automatically for you. But you can go into reduction, enlargement, and blow it up or shrink it down, okay? I don't know if you did that on your old one or not, but you can. And, okay, so this one here, I call this the meeting button, okay? It's called pages per sheet. So, you guys got a meeting coming up, board meeting, whatever, council meeting, whatever it may be. And let's say you have 20 pages that are part of the meeting. I can come up here and hit pages per sheet and say 2. Now, like PowerPoint, I'm going to have 2 on a page. So it saves paper, okay? And they still can see what they want to see. So our goal here with everything we have here is to save you guys money. That's the goal. So if you use that, you can do that. Now, I can also do 4 on a page, okay? Which gets a little skinnier. It's a little smaller.
Right.
But you can still do that, okay? Most people, they'll do it 2 on a page, okay? So you have that. And The only other one that people like is there's one down here that says blank page suppression. So, in this example here, so I had a two-sided and a one-sided. If I wanted to, if I turn that on, that blank page is going to go away.
Nice.
Okay?
You're not
I like
running the
that.
page.
Yep.
Which is nice for scanning.
Yeah, and you can do these same things in the scanning side of it also.
Right.
So when I get that PDF that I created, that blank page is in there. Now, sometimes that page has to be there to make everything line up right, okay? But just know you can change it if you want, okay? So, again, if you're bored one day and you want to go in, you go into the options and all the stuff is there, okay? But basically, you don't have to worry about, you know, any of that fancy stuff unless you want to go in there, okay?
Did you show them where stapling was?
Now, the other one that's in here though, and I jumped over it on purpose, so right at the top it says staple and hole punch, okay? So, I come up here, I got 10 pages, I want to have 10 sets, so I go to the staple hole punch, and then on the left side is my stapling, and on the right side is my hole punch, okay? So, on the left side, I can put a staple in the top corner like I did when I stuck it in there, okay? I can do 2 staples down the side that make it kind of like a book, okay? I can do staple in the right corner, I can do 2 staples down the side, and then depending on if I have legal size or 11 by 17, it puts it in the proper spot for the other stuff. So I have any of those choices. Now, on the hole punch, I have the ability to do 3 holes or 2 holes. Okay? 3 hole, stick it in, 1, 2, 3. Put the paper this way, 2 holes for like an accounting book. Okay? Ledger book type of thing. So you have all those choices, 3 holes and 2 holes, on either side of the document. Pretty cool.
And how many sets you want down at the bottom.
Correct. And then you would say 10 sets and it's going to come out staple and all kinds of stuff. Okay?
Okay.
So, any questions on any of that stuff? All right, now we're coming down the home stretch. I'm sorry, a little more than 10, I apologize. So, now when I go to scan, this is almost going to be exactly what we just did when we copied, except the piece of paper is not going to come out. It's going to go to your computer or to your folder.
Right.
Okay? So, I'm assuming, and I don't know this, and I'll step on this part, if you're going to do scan to folder and scan to email, I don't know, okay?
Yeah.
So either one, doesn't really matter. Scan to folder, when I go into scan to folder, I'm going to have a list of my choices for folders. Like right now I don't have a path because we're trying to get it to work. The folders would be there, I pick it. If I want to, I can name that file. And look at this, there's a nice little
Nice little keyboard there.
That's a nice
nice little
surprise.
Vanna White keyboard
Yeah.
there, okay? So you can now type in the name of that file so when you send it to the folder, it's already named. Now, you don't have to.
Right.
Comes to your computer, it's going to have a date and time stamp on it, you change it. But it is kind of nice, you can do it here too, okay?
Or for email subjects and things
Yes,
like that.
right.
Okay. Now, I'm going to go back and I'm going to go into scan to email also. So scan to email is going to be similar, except if you notice, it looks very similar to what you would see when you're going to do an email. Okay. So this little picture of somebody's head, a body, that's an address book. So if we get everybody's email address in the address book, I could come up here, touch the address book, pick who I want it to go to. Okay. Normally, I'm sending it to myself. Okay. And then when I get it, I'm forwarding it to somebody else. But in theory, you could send from this machine. So what's very important about that is this. If you notice up top, it says from, and then it says to. Well, if I was going to email something from this machine to myself, the machine has its own email address. So if I don't pick who it's coming from, it's going to be basically what it says right there, HUMC printer. I don't know who sent that. But if I go into the address book and I pick my name, guess what? Even though it came from this machine, it's going to say it came from Lisa. Okay? And then to, whoever went to, subject, file name, all the things that you could do in email, you can do here and again via the keyboard.
Wow.
Okay? So the only difference between the email piece and the scan to folder is scan to folder, I pick the folder. email, I pick the person. Now, between both of them, this part's the same. So now when I go to options, now these are my different settings. And again, there's a bunch in here, but I'm only going to show you a couple that are important. First off, both these machines are set at 300 dots per inch. That is a very good scan. Gives you a good quality, but doesn't take up a lot of file space. Okay? However, depending what you're scanning, I can change it from anywhere from 600 down to 75. So, here's the joke I say, and it's an old one, but it's a goodie. If you have something, a contract or something with small print, and you want them to read it, you can do 600 dots per inch.
If you don't want them to read it,
If you don't want them to read it, you can do 75, okay?
Okay.
But here's the purpose, though, more than that, is that if I'm scanning something, and let's say it's a lot of pages, email systems have a 10 meg attachment file limit size.
Right.
So, if you're trying to send something and it won't go, take the resolution down a notch.
Just a notch.
You'll still be able to see the stuff, but now your file will probably go. That's the main reason for
Especially in
this.
color. You probably don't want to start blowing up to like 600 DPI with a color
Right.
document because you will never get there.
Exactly. Now, also over here is the type of file. So we have it defaulted at PDF, okay, which is normal. Most people use. However, if you notice, there's a whole bunch here, okay? So I'm going to talk about a couple. The first one right below it where it says PDF-A, I'm only going to tell you this just because people always ask. I don't think you guys would ever use it, but if you deal with the government at all, the government sometimes asks for a PDF in what's called PDF-A. And here's what it means. PDF-A is an archive. It's a different type of PDF format that supposedly is going to last for 100 years. It's only been around for 10, so I don't know how they can say it's going to last for 100, but it is there, okay? That's your education for today. But here's the good ones. So if you see right below, there's one that says Searchable PDF. This is cool, okay? So let's say I have 5 pages that I want to create a PDF and send it out to all the parishioners, okay? If I pick Searchable PDF, when they open up that PDF, they can search for every word in that document. So they can do keyword searches. So find me this, find me that. It'll take you to that. So that's kind of cool, okay? So Searchable PDF is one, okay? When I get down here, there's JPEG and TIFF. Those are for actual image files. That's normal. But if I scroll down a little farther, there's another cool one. Text OCR. So guess what? I can take this, scan this in Text OCR and open up in Word. Now, it's not perfect, so don't expect it to be. Run your spell check, okay? Do all the good things, but it's a heck of a lot faster than retyping everything, okay? So the neat part with the HPs, these models with this keyboard, that stuff is on both of these.
It's standard.
Okay? It's a neat thing. It's called the Flow package. So that stuff is on there. So, touching on it. Default PDF. The two biggies are Searchable PDF or the Text OCR that you can open up in Word then. Okay? You didn't know you were getting all this
Sam
stuff
looks
at all.
like he likes
know a
that
lot.
idea.
Now, the last one. If you remember, I mentioned a minute ago about sending files and being too big. Okay. So right here, there's 2 settings here that are designed to help you. Right now, the quality and file size is set at medium. Again, good quality, keep the file size small. But if for some reason you need it to be at 300 dots per inch, it's still not working, I can come in here and I can go to a low or a high, which increases the quality but increases the file size, or decreases the quality and it shrinks the size. So you have that. You also have below it a high compression. HP's the only one that have this. So if I touch that, it's going to compress it even more. So you should not have an issue on these machines being able to scan, unless it's really huge, scan something that you can't send an email. And here's the last one. This feature I'm going to show you right here used to cost $400 3 years ago. Now they give it to you for free.
Okay.
It's called PDF Encryption. If you guys are sending something via PDF, via email, to the bank, financials, anything HIPAA, Social security numbers, anything like that. If I turn PDF encryption on and give it a password, that PDF is going to come into your email like normal. When you try to open it, it's going to say, what's the password? Okay? So there's some neat stuff here. And again, I don't want to overblow you guys with all this different stuff, but the neat part is there's stuff here that's kind of cool. Okay? So when I do the PDF encryption, just remember, when you send it to somebody, they have to know what the password is. And don't make the mistake of putting the password in the email that you're sending the file with to say, oh, by the way, the password for this file is, okay? So that is all under this first button, file type, okay? So that's the only button in here that you're really going to jump to a lot because of doing the different settings. Now, as I scroll on down, all the other ones are kind of normal. Default scanning is one-sided. If you have two-sided, make it two-sided, all that kind of good stuff. Now, here's one that Lisa touched on a second ago that I want to bring up. You are not charged when you scan in color. You are only charged when you print or copy. So the default when you scan on both machines is on the automatic mode. Because it's assuming if I'm scanning something in color, I probably want it in color. Okay? But if for some reason the file's too big and you don't want the color, you can go in and change it to black or gray or whatever. Okay? But just know that if I scanned, if this had red on it, leaving it default and just hitting scan, it's going to come with color. Okay? And then, as I scroll down, the only other one that we talked about before, and I want to touch on it, is your blank page. So again, in this example here, if I scan this and turn blank page on, I'm going to get a 3-page PDF, not a 4. Okay?
Which that's nice.
Yeah.
I would use that quite a bit, yeah.
So, any questions on that? And we're coming down the final stretch here. Okay? So now the last button here is the print button. So basically, all this is for is if you send a job here and hold it with a PIN number, which is an option in the device, where it'll just sit there, so it's confidential. You would come here, touch the button, says print from job storage, punch in your PIN number, and out it comes. Okay. Or if I plug a USB in to the USB port that's covered here, but if I plug a USB in, then I can print from the USB, and those documents will come up, and I can choose to print them out. Okay? So that's really what that's for. So, questions on that? Pretty cut and dry.
I have an administrative question.
Okay.
To get my counts, do I go to the screen or
Okay.
do I just go to the interface?
So, the easiest thing is from the computer
Yeah.
and just remote into the web page
Yeah.
and then pull them off of there. Okay. You also can, I believe it's under the I information tab. Let's see, that's language. Let's see if it's which one it's under on this machine. And no, that's not it. Let's go back. No, that's the home screen. I forget where they put that, Lisa. Is that in its own separate tab? Yeah, I'm sorry. That's right. They moved it. So when I scroll second page, right there is my supply page, and it also has the. So there's my supplies that I have in the machine, and then if I go back here to, I believe, reports. No, that's not it. Where's the count page?
There's one that says.
Yeah, I know. I'm just trying to figure out which. I'll hit that one up before we leave with you. I don't know which one they moved that to. They used to have it up here, and then they moved it. For some reason I thought it was on a supply page, but that's your supplies. Yeah, that's not it. And reports prints out, but I don't want it to print it out. I'll hit that up before we
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, I was just curious.
No, that's
because
fine. Yep.
Every once in a while I just go in and
Yep.
peek at it.
Yep. And again, if you save in his, like your browser, if you save the IP address of each one,
Yeah.
when you go in there, first thing is the counts.
Is there a password for it?
Yeah, I got it. I'll show you how to log in.
All right, so that's pretty much the machine. Any questions on that? Okay, one last thing, and I just want to pop over here and we're done. Over here, very similar, paper trays, everything else. Only difference is on this guy, he comes up on this side of the machine. Okay, instead of the right side, he comes up on the left. There's nothing in the middle here like this, so This spot right here is the only place it can jam. Okay, so there's nothing you have to worry about there. And then as far as the document feeder, very similar in all respects to what we had over here. Okay, as far as your bars up top, your bars here, all the same things you had over here, identical. Okay, but one of the neat things we have is that on here, when I go to make a copy, remember I said you have the ability to do two different kind of color? One's called Professional, and the other one's called General Office. So if you are printing in color, really doesn't matter. I mean, I guess in black and white it would lighten the black, okay? But when you're printing in color, if I put it on General Office, I'm going to get that lighter shade of color. So when I'm printing from my computer, once we have all that set up, when you go into print to this device, you'll have a choice: Professional, General Office. Default usually is Professional, but Steve and I were talking, he might default it to General. Okay, that's up to you guys. Okay. Again, only difference is Professional gives you the wham bam color, General Office the light color. Okay. Other than that, everything we did over here is identical over here.
Okay.
You have your keyboard over there as well.
Yep, same idea.
Pop it out.
Same idea. Everything's good.
Okay.
Okay.
I would imagine you were going to scan more over here because it has the more robust feeder.
Yeah.
Than over
But
here.
again, either one. The nice part is once Steve gets it all set up, you guys will be good to go.
All right.
So, I didn't tell you there's a written test in 2 minutes. So I hope you took some good notes. No, just kidding.
She's got her notes.
So anyway, so here's what we like to do. I threw a lot at you today, and I apologize. But the idea is more to say, look, here's some neat stuff it can do. So over the next week or so, you play with it, you do the things you're going to do with it. If you have questions, now if it's an emergency, like I can't do this, I need to do this, you pick up the phone and you call us, okay? But if it's something like, I can wait, jot it down, because we're going to come back in about a week to 2 weeks, and we're going to do a very quick, but more like a refresher. Say, hey, look, over the last 2 weeks, does something happen that you didn't know what you were doing? Or, remember all those extra options? Maybe there's one in there that you guys actually do, and I didn't touch on it. So you say, hey, we do this, and I couldn't figure out how to do it. Like, here's a good one. One of the features on here is called Card Shot. So if I was making a copy of somebody's ID, back and front, things like that. So over the next 2 weeks or so, jot them down.
Okay.
And then when we come back, it'll be very quick, very clean, but it'll be more like, okay, what are your questions? What are your concerns? If I miss something, we address it, and then we go from there.